think we can all agree that the new Grasp of Avarice dungeon is an absolute banger of an activity. To the design, the lore, the master mode actually being more fun than the legend version. Okay, maybe that's just me, but I'm really enjoying this master mode way more than I ever did with Vault of Glass. It's just a really great dungeon all around, and I'm glad that Bungie did such a great job with it. But you know what would make this activity even better? If we could infinitely farm out the loot within it, just like Prophecy. And would you look at that? The Grasp of Avarice dungeon is indeed farmable starting today thanks to a recent hotfix. With that in mind, what better time to create a god roll guide on all 4 of the new dungeon weapons than right now? So today, we're going to be taking a look at the Grasp of Avarice weapon lineup, going over their god rolls, how to get them, PS, they're in the dungeon, and give a brief review on each. If you enjoyed today's video, liking the video would be greatly appreciated, and if you'd like to see more content from me, subscribing helps out a lot and it gets us one step closer to 150k. With all that said, let's jump into this. Of course, for today's video, we have to kick things off with a weapon that was one of the most notorious guns of all time in Destiny 1's lifecycle, the Eyasluna hand cannon. And I know that some people pronounce it Eyasluna, but I've always pronounced it Eyasluna my entire life, even when I was a kid playing D1, so we're going to call it Eyasluna today. Now, this weapon is yet another hand cannon added to the long list of 140 RPMs, but it also comes with some very unique perks, as well as being stasis element. So let's go ahead and start things off by talking about Eyasluna's PvE viability. When it comes to PvE, Eyasluna is a fish in a fairly large pond, and in this case, the entire pond is taken up by Fatebringer. There aren't really many excuses to be made here. Fatebringer is just objectively speaking the best 140 RPM hand cannon in the game for the kinetic slot. It's obtainable by anyone as it's free to play, it can be focus farmed via Vault of Glass and the spoils chest, it has an adept variant, and even has one of the best double damage perk combinations we've ever seen in the form of explosive payload and frenzy. Fatebringer is a monster. However, Eyasluna has one thing that Fatebringer does not, and that is stasis. With Eyasluna being a stasis weapon, this immediately opens it up to some crazy level stasis builds that guns like Fatebringer can't synergize all that well with. Rocking Eyasluna, Agger's Scepter, the new Dawning Sword, on top of fragments, aspects, and mods. Yeah, you're looking at a really good time here, especially considering some of the recent buffs and how good Elemental Well mods are. That being said though, when taking a look at content where it truly matters what you're running, whether that be Master Raids, Dungeons, or Grandmaster Nightfalls, I can't think of a single instance in which I would choose Eyasluna over Fatebringer, at least from an objective standpoint. Of course, not every time you play Destiny are you trying to be 100% optimal all the time, but I wanted to point all of this out for those of you guys that might be short on time and want to know whether or not farming this out is truly worth all the effort. I'll personally be farming out a PvE one, as I do like a little bit of variety here or there, and here are the perks that I'm interested in. In the first perk column, we have Rapid Hit, Outlaw, Perpetual Motion, and Rangefinder, and in the second column, we have Headstone, Demo, and Kill Clip. The 2 god rolls I'm personally going for though are going to be the Rapid Hit Kill Clip combo, that classic Kindled Orchid roll for whenever I'm running master content, and you always want Rapid Hit over Outlaw in those cases as you still benefit with better reload speed regardless as if you kill the target or not, and Kill Clip gives a massive 33% damage increase just by killing and reloading, so it's hard to pass up. The other god roll for more casual content though is going to be Outlaw Headstone, so I can incorporate Eyasluna into some fun stasis builds. Now that we've gone over the PvE side of things with Eyasluna, let's hop into what made this weapon popular in the first place, and that is the PvP side of things. In regards to PvP, I'm sure you guys could tell from the perks that you saw while we were talking about PvE that it's got some pretty nasty perk combos available. In the first perk column, we have Unrelenting, Rapid Hit, Outlaw, Perpetual Motion, and Rangefinder. And in the second column, we have Moving Target, Kill Clip, Harmony for getting a special weapon kill, then swapping over for the damage boost, and finally, Snapshot. Now for me personally, the god roll I'm hunting for is either going to be Perpetual Motion Kill Clip or Rangefinder Kill Clip, but it should be noted that pretty much the entire consensus god roll, what basically most people agree on, is going to be something like Perpetual Motion or Rangefinder combined with Moving Target. Now I know that a lot of people have been enjoying Moving Target in that second slot, but I just don't really see the need for the added aim assist, and I've never really cared much for the ADS movement speed. Kill Clip is a perk that'll be super fun in 6s, occasionally shine in 3s. It'll allow me to be a bit messier with my aim whenever it's procced, and I can occasionally get cheeky 2-tap kills on a target if they're barely hurt coming out of an engagement with my teammate. That's just me though, and the perk set that I personally like, but I know with PvP there's always different playstyles by different people, so your god roll may be different compared to mine. Alright, so we talked about Eyasluna for a very long time there. There's only 4 weapons in the dungeon, so I'm going to be a little extra thorough on some weapons today. Plus you guys have timestamps, so if you complain that I went on for too long about Eyasluna, in the comments I'm going to give you a spanking, alright? That's just what's going to happen. But let's go ahead and move on to the next weapon for the video, the 1000 yard stare. Now this sniper belongs to the 90 RPM adaptive frame archetype and is one of only 2 void legendary snipers, the other being Frozen Orbit, unless I am forgetting one, which you guys will correct me in the comment section like you always do. Thank you guys. With that being said, let's kick things off with PvE and talk about these perk rolls. Taking a look at the first column, we have triple tap and yeah, just triple tap, with the second column having the new golden tricorn perk and a bit of a sleeper perk for a sniper rifle, Demolitionist. 1000 yard stare's only real PvE viability is its sustained damage on targets thanks to triple tap. You can either choose to extend the sustained damage to the max with Demolitionist, or try to squeeze out as much damage as you can over a period of 10 seconds with golden tricorn. Basically, if you have the triple tap demo roll, you can fire your weapon until you need to reload, chuck a grenade, and this will not only provide extra damage on the target you're shooting, but also instantly reload your weapon and allow you to keep firing, aka giving you the best sustained damage you could possibly get. Now for triple tap tricorn, this is the gameplay that you're seeing in the background, and it's a bit more complicated. For those that don't know, golden tricorn is a perk that has 2 stacks, and each stack activates differently. For the first stack of golden tricorn, you just need to kill an enemy, and this will give you a 15% damage buff for 7 seconds, so think of it kinda like activating Vorpal. Now the second stack requires you to get a kill for the first stack, and then get another enemy kill with either a melee ability or grenade that matches the element of the weapon, so you need to be a void subclass. This will in turn grant you 50% extra damage and can absolutely melt health bars when active and proccing triple tap. But damn, is it just a pain to activate. Snipers as a whole aren't really present in the meta outside of Izanagi's Burden, so I would just stick to a sniper like a Dord in this case, unless you really need a void sniper for match game or something. Now moving on over to PvP, I don't have the most to say about 1000 yard stare for PvP because I am not a sniper in PvP. The closest thing I get to sniping is using duality, but this weapon right here has an extremely unique god roll in the form of quick draw snapshot sights, and this is one of, if not the only weapon in the game, the only sniper that can roll with this. I think there might be another exception out there somewhere, but quick draw snapshot is like one of the rarest rolls that you can get on a sniper, and it's a really good roll. You also have other perks like perpetual motion if that's your thing, maybe moving target, but I just don't really see the need to ever be running those. So quick draw, snapshot sights, accurized rounds, you're not going to get much better than that, and you'll probably be popping heads like nobody's business. It's a 44 zoom, so if you're not a fan of the low zoom scopes, you might not like 1000 yard stare, but if that sounds like it's up your alley, which for me personally I've always preferred the lower the zoom, then you might really like it, and this might be a really good top tier option for PvP. And if we were to judge this weapon based off of its PvP viability, I would probably say that this is the most important weapon in this entire video. You know, this is one of the most unique with one of the best god rolls that you can get, so if you're a PvP guy, quick draw snapshot, that should be on your radar. Now moving on from 1000 yard stare, it's time to talk about my personal favorite weapon of the dungeon, a sword that dates all the way back to one of Bungie's first ever games, and this sword is the Hero of Ages. This weapon belongs to the Beyblade archetype, its arc element, and comes with one of the best and most interesting perk combinations I've ever seen. Now before we talk about that specific combo, I just want to talk about a perk roll that I was hoping to be super good, and that's the Duelist Trance and One for All roll. Now Duelist Trance is a completely new perk for swords, and unfortunately I didn't enjoy it all that much. Basically, when your sword is out and you get a kill, you get better charge time on your heavy attack, more defense, and better efficiency. I tried my best to combine this with One for All inside of master content, and was only partly successful only when using it on overloads with the Overload Sword mod. Of course, the idea here is to kill enemies with your sword out to get the buff from Duelist Trance. While also doing this, you'll be getting the One for All buff if you hit 3 enemies for that 35% damage increase, and then you can just go ham on a champion. But honestly, it just seemed like too much work for what it's worth, but maybe you all might like it. It's pretty much only usable on champions if you're with a teammate that can stun the champion for you, or if it's on a overload in this case, because you can overload the champion without needing to swap your weapon and losing that, duelist trance buff, because you're trying to benefit from this heavy attack and you're trying to benefit from the defense and everything like that, but you really can't unless you can overload or stun the champion while your weapon's already out and while you've already got your kills with it. Now, instead though, this role is a little bit weird, so the main role that I think you all should be going after is going to be Demolitionist and Chain Reaction. This role will be very similar to the Solar Scar from Trials of Osiris, except of course without the ranged attack that the sword has. Chain Reaction on swords is some of the most fun that I've ever had in Destiny, and I'm going to be farming the hell out of this dungeon for the demo Chain Reaction role so I can make my enemies explode, grenades explode, and my heart explode with happiness. Now, moving on from Hero of Ages, we have our final weapon of the video, a weapon with just as much legend surrounding it as Eyasluna, the Matador 64. This shotgun belongs to the Precision but not a Slug archetype, is Arc Element, and is the only farmable Precision but not a Slug archetype in the game right now that's in the energy slot. Yeah, we have Compass Rose, but you have to wait until Solstice of Heroes every year, so I really wouldn't consider that farmable. Basically, if you're a fan of this archetype and have been waiting for an energy variant that's super easy to get, unlike Compass Rose, Retold Tale, and the like, then this shotgun is for you. Obviously, with it not being a slug, it doesn't have the craziest amount of use in PvE, but it does come with full auto, threat detector, and lead from gold in the first column, with 1-2 punch or golden tricorn in the second. Of course, for PvP, your god roll is going to look very similar to other shotguns out there. You're looking for full choke, accurized, or assault mag. In the first column, you have either perpetual motion or threat detector, and of course in the last column we have opening shot for those consistent one-shot kills. Overall opinion on Matador 64, for PvP, I honestly hate any shotgun that isn't a slug. I much prefer the consistency of slug shotguns as they don't have pellet RNG and are purely reliant on closing the distance and aiming for the head, so this weapon will definitely not replace my duality. Again, that's just me. If you like pellet shotguns, this weapon right here should be pretty good for you. For PvE, again, not a slug, and I don't play much into the 1-2 punch playstyle, so it's just not a gun for me. But again, this is all personal opinion. I think that Eyasluna, for example, is a really good hand cannon, and it all comes down to your preference and how you feel whenever you're using the weapon and everything in between. I think 1K Stare is just in general, really god tier sniper rifle, at least for PvP. And Matador 64, if pellet shotguns are your thing, then this weapon, especially if you like that precision archetype, this weapon is going to do amazing for you. It's just something that I personally don't use, but I don't think any of these weapons are bad by any means. I think Matador is really good, Eyasluna is really good. Obviously, I really like the sword, and the sniper rifle is insane for PvP. I think all these weapons are good. I think my main issue though is just that I prefer other things, but that's the really cool thing about weapons in Destiny. Everyone has their own opinions, everyone has their own feelings about weapons, and I think these are really good, but chances are I'm only going to be farming for the sword. But guys, that's going to do it for today's video. Today we went over the entirety of the new dungeon loot pool, which unfortunately is only 4 weapons, but I really had a good time looking into them and reviewing them regardless. Grasp of Avarice, rightfully so, has a lot of people excited with how good of a dungeon it is, and I hope that today's guide helped you out at least a little bit when it comes to keeping an eye out for good loot that you may come across throughout your farming. For those of you guys that are still watching up until this point though, let's go ahead and jump into the comment of the day, and today's comment of the day is from Kobe Henley, who says, "What would make this video is Dado reviewing this. I love both you guys and love the style of the video. You're my go-to Destiny YouTuber, and I'm literally like, when is the new video coming out so I can see what's good?" If you guys don't know, this comment is from my review of the 30th anniversary pack, and we memed about Dado a lot in that video. If you haven't already seen the video, I highly recommend checking it out because it's one of my favorite videos that I made in the past few months, and I'd love you long time if you went and supported it. But anyways, thank you so much for the comment, Kobe. I really appreciate all the kind words, and if you would like to be featured for next comment of the day, yes, you person watching, feature hashtag COTD for comment of the day in the comment down below that you post, and I'll pick you out for the next long-winded video that I make. Anyways guys, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope today's guide was helpful, and I'll see you all next time.